As I tell before to the ESPN, I give him the offer. If he's smart, he will accept it.
Terrence Crawford winning the intense battle against Israel Madof. His Excellency Turkey Alik has announced his motive to organize Crawford versus Canelo. Meanwhile, but euphoric after this victory, still acknowledged that this fight wasn't as straightforward as many thought, as Madof showed tremendous resilience and vigor, which pushed the fight to 12 rounds, which is something new for him, as he usually disarms fighters in earlier rounds.
Israel was a tough competitor. I knew he was going to be tough. Like I said, I knew all about him when I went to Uzbekistan, and they was telling me so much about him. He's real strong, he's durable, he took a lot of good shots, and he got me to round 12.
After getting the job done, Crawford is now enthralled by the mere idea of fighting Canelo, and according to him, he would welcome any offer regarding this from any party unquestionably, however, understanding that Canelo has his priorities right now with his fight with Edgar Berlanga. Crawford stated that he is fine with standing by for now.
You know what I say, if the money's right, we gotta fight. But at the same time, you know, he gotta fight, you know, that he's focused on. I'm gonna go back to my family, I'm gonna relax, I'm gonna enjoy this win, and enjoy all the accomplishments that
Although Terrence won this fight, his abrupt jump from 147 to 154 was felt throughout the bout, which might have left some question marks in people's minds about Crawford moving up to 168 to fight off against Canelo, who poses a much more severe threat than Madof did. Terrence, being somewhat aware of this himself, reflected on how even though he fought Madof at 154, the Uzbek fighter had the robustness of someone at 160. So it is not that outlandish for him to go against Canelo at 168, as this will be another landmark for him to attain in his path of greatness. He stated, "I'm pretty sure he can fight at 160. This guy Madof is big U in the amateurs. He fought at a higher weight, and he is now. It's not so important to me to fight Canelo. It's just another milestone to greatness and financially wise." With Terrence on board with this idea, His Excellency Turkey Alik has once again reiterated his desire to orchestrate a match between Bud and Canelo, claiming to have sent a formal contract to the Mexican fighter to think about with his team.
As I tell before to the ESPN, I give him the offer. If he's smart, he will accept it.
Turkey also explained his backup plan to fight Virgil Ortiz in case Canelo does not take up the offer, which might be a more suitable match for Terrence at this stage, considering the almost non-existent weight difference and a history of call-outs by Ortiz. Turkey stated, "If Canelo doesn't, I want Ortiz. If they accept, we want to see this fight." In his post-fight conference, Terrence also addressed all the accusations directed at him for not being a marketable fighter, stating that the opulence that he garnered from this event was enough to prove that the animosity directed towards him is nothing but politics, as regardless of all the hate, most of the fans in the arena came to see him, and now, with His Excellency's support, he is getting what he always strived for. Terrence stated they were switching up the narrative because they were loyal to a certain promotional company. "But I didn't care, we are here now, everything happened for a reason. And if you look around, I'm the last man standing, and I was the one that they were talking so bad about." On the other hand, fans and boxing pros from all around the world have conveyed varying emotions after the conclusion of this event, with most being contented with the outcomes of seeing their favorite boxers win, while others are pointing out the disparities in the scoring of the fights, which was something initiated by none other than Eddie Hearn. Dissatisfied with the scores of 11-61 to 12, Eddie proclaimed that though it was not an outright robbery, it was still an offense to score a fighter like Madof like this, despite his stellar performance, and shows the biased nature of the judges.
Because it's a waste of time. It's not a 116, 112 fight. He was in the fight. He's coming into the fight as the champion. But because he's fighting Terrence Crawford, he doesn't get a shake. All of the effective punches were coming from Israel Madof. Crawford had a good flurry in, I think, the last 10th round. It was a super close fight. I believe when you come into that ring as champion, you've got to take the belt off that champion. Terrence Crawford didn't do that. And I love him, he's brilliant. But for me, he deserves to be champion tonight. It was a fight that could have gone either way. And then you hear the scorecards.
Eddie commented on the overall performance displayed by Terrence and called it insufficient for a pound-for-pound champion, emphasizing that despite being the underdog from the start, Mav put substantial effort into this fight to prove everyone wrong.
I thought Israel Madof did enough to edge it tonight. I know there's always the argument of dethroning the champion, whether you think that's a thing or not. You know, I'm not sure I felt that Bud Crawford dethroned Israel Madof tonight, but what we are is extremely proud of him. 10 fights in, and we're debating whether he won a fight against the pound.
Giving his views about the potential match between Canelo and Crawford, Eddie looked doubtful about Canelo accepting this offer, while also bashing Crawford, stating how he had an issue against a fighter at 154. So for him to think about going to 168 and fighting a reigning champion sounds preposterous. Eddie stated, "I think it's much too much weight for Terrence, and you know people will say it was a poor performance from Terrence, but let's just say it was a great performance from Madof. But I think 168 is much too big for Terrence. But like said, if the money's right, he'll fight." Sharing the same sentiments about the supposed injustice that took place in Ram, Mo's trainer Joel Diaz expressed his frustration about the decision, calling it pre-planned and a corrupt move. Despite Madof dominating in most of the rounds, Joel also drew comparisons between this fight and the bout between Errol Spence Jr. and Mickey Garcia, concluding how despite his fighter giving everything, the opponent won just because he moved up to 154 to fight a champion in that division.
I mean, we can yell at the world and say a rematch, but they won't give. I mean, everything. Remember, when we walk into this fight, it was a lose-lose for us and a win-win for him. Right now, even though people say, "Oh, Israel won the fight," everything goes to Crawford. Why? Because he took the risk, moving a higher division, and went 12 rounds with a 154-pounder. You know, I've seen it before. I saw it when Mikey Garcia fought Errol Spence.
Despite this continuing onslaught from Eddie and Madof's coaches, Crawford's team has expressed their satisfaction with this performance. Crawford's coach Bakey appeared quite elated by this performance and stated how if a proper time and opportunity appeared before them, they would take the Canelo fight and they would facilitate Crawford in his pursuit. He stated if the money's right, he can go up there and do his thing. "I believe that me and the coaches can put a game plan together to beat his Canelo, knowing about the sheer scale of the fights and the debut of Riot season in America. It's no wonder that this was a star-studded event, from well-known boxing analysts to the most prominent fighters. Everyone has a lot to say about this historic win for Crawford, making him a 4-time boxing world champion. Mike Tyson, an acclaimed former boxer, who recently decided to come out of retirement to face the YouTuber-turned-boxer Jake Paul later this year in November, in a highly awaited fight, stated how this fight was anything but effortless as both boxers engaged in an outright battle. He stated it was a tough fight, also thinking it to be a tough fight. Caleb Planet, an American professional boxer, thought that this fight was very hard to deconstruct and judge as both the boxers fought valiantly till the end, with Terrence taking the lead in the later round by using his notable ability to switch stances. Caleb stated this was hard to judge some of those early rounds that lacked a lot of back and forth action. So in those early rounds, it was hard for me to tell. I did think Terrence won the 12th round. He further added, "I thought it was a close fight, but I thought Terrence did enough to pull out the victory, with him winning the last round nonetheless." Caleb expressed his opinions about the probable fight between Bud and Canelo, stating how at this moment, this might not be the right initiative taken by Bud, as he is a bit rusted after he took extensive time off from fighting professionally, which was quite evident during his fight against Madof. Having faced off against Canelo way back in 2021 during his prime, Caleb disclosed how Canelo is a very adept fighter who can be quite a challenge for fighters like Terrence, who despite being world champions might be slackening off due to their age. He stated he's got some attributes that Canelo has: his explosiveness, his power. But he still has a different style than Canelo, so styles make fights. I feel like if Terrence could get a little more bust, a little more active, it could do him better. Also thinking that Terrence might have gotten a little rusty over the years. Teofimo Lopez shared his take about the fighter, saying how for the level that Terrence is at and the experience that he possesses, he should not have undergone this much travails against a relatively inexperienced fighter who has only shinned during amateur fights. Lopez, who has expressed his desire to fight with Terrence countless times in the past, with incessant callouts after its comeback earlier this year, might be reconsidering his plans for this fight after witnessing in the not-so-stellar performance displayed by Terrence in this. Crawford may be a 154 or 160 before we can even discuss a Canelo Alvarez fight. So in the end, what do you guys think about the outcome of this? Is the judgment fair, or was it Madof who should have won? Tell us about your thoughts in the comments below. And if you like this video, make sure to subscribe to our channel.